Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me on 10 Minute Tuesday. I have my friend Shawna Taylor on here today. Shawna, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining 10 Minute Tuesdays. We've done a number of these, so let's go ahead and hop into it. Shawna, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Um, Thank you. My name is Shawna, and I currently work in data analytics. So I am the manager of data strategy at NASCAR, and I have been in that role for a little over a year now. I started off in um, communications. That was kind of like my major coming in um, to college. And then I decided to swap my major and kind of major in analytics. And so that's kind of how I got to working in this role.
Wow, so started in communications, then moved into analytics. Now you're working for NASCAR, which is crazy because when people think of NASCAR, they might not necessarily think of analytics. So it's really, really cool opportunity that you have. But what thinking about that switch from communication analytics, what really compelled you to get into data and to make that switch?
Yeah. So the main thing was kind of growing up, we grew in like I'll say a tech savvy household. My dad was an engineer. And so I kind of already knew that I liked and I wanted to be in the tech area, but I also knew that I wanted to always do something creative. And I always had a yearning for creativity. And I think when I found out what a data analyst actually was and what the role consisted of, I saw that I would be able to both to tap into both my technical and creative flair. And that's kind of what made me make that switch from just kind of majoring in communications and going into data analyst.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think that's one thing that definitely keeps everybody going from like a data analyst side is like being able to use both parts of your brain. Like you have your logical problem solving, but then you got your creative, artsy, like piecing it all together piece, and that's definitely fascinating. So thinking about your journey, you made the switch from communications, now you're data analyst, but I'm sure there was stuff that you did before that that you didn't enjoy. So overall, what would you consider one of your least favorite job that you had to date?
My least favorite job, I will say, was working at a summer camp. Uh, that just wasn't my niche, honestly. It was a lot working with younger kids, and at the time I was also a kid, and it just didn't really turn out that well. So it was short-lived, but I think that would probably fall into the category of my least favorite jobs.
Yeah, those summer camp jobs are tricky. They're testy. Like this, it's like
Yeah.
you either love it or you like can't stand it. Like I can't wait for this to be over.
Yeah, that was me.
All right, so thinking about your journey, right now you're the manager of data strategy at NASCAR, and along the way, I'm sure you had bumps and bruises to get to where you're at. So, thinking about the concept of failing forward and failure, what would you consider your biggest failure? Well, quotation marks around failure, and then what did you really learn from that experience?
So my journey was actually very interesting because I kind of went from one thing to the next. So while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do while I was in college, I kind of tested out a couple different things. So I started off with a major in communications, and because I knew that I did want to tap into something technical, I actually decided to do a minor of data science. And when I started to take some of those classes and I started kind of tapping into that industry, I quickly realized that it was not what I wanted to do at all. I didn't want to get so deep into the engineering and the data science field. I knew I wanted to tap into it a little, but I think it kind of deprived me of my opportunity to realize what my true potential was. And that was, using my creativity as well as my technical expertise. And so, unfortunately, I did end up deciding to drop that. But I think the fact that I was able to see that early on allowed me to be able to make the switch a little bit quicker. And so I was able to kind of figure out what I wanted to do because that happened. So it really did pave the way, but unfortunately just didn't really work out in the way that I thought would have worked out.
Yeah, yeah, that's like really fascinating and really insightful because I had a similar thing as well. Like I started in computer science as my major, and quickly within like a semester or two, it was like, whoa, like I
A
want to
lot.
interact with people, but then I also want to do techie and I also want to be creative. I was like, let me figure out something that combines all of that and eventually moved to BIS. So similar journey, right? It's a lot, it's a journey, but then it's like what are the things that fulfill me to be the best that I can be in those moments.
So true.
Yeah. All right, so on the job manager, NASCAR, but then you had other jobs as well. So what would you think? What is one lesson your job has taught you that you think everyone should learn at some point in their life?
Biggest lesson for me in being an analyst is to really embrace the opportunity to learn other things outside of your role and really to learn the ins and outs of the entire department. Because at the end of the day, that's really going to help you understand your role um, to the max. You'll develop a deeper understanding if you know the back end and the front end. And anyone who's an analyst or anyone who knows how analytics works knows that we kind of work with the tech side, the engineers, where they kind of make sure the data is flowing into the warehouse. And then we also work on the business side and with our executive team, and we have to relay all of this like super technical information to them. So I think understanding and truly understanding both ends and understanding multiple departments will really help you kind of succeed in the role.
Yeah, I think that's incredible advice because it's one of those things where if you just limit it to your requirement or what's on paper and you just deliver that, then you're not understanding the bigger picture of what you're really doing and how you're helping out the org as a whole. Like you can create a pretty dashboard or a pretty report and get the insights, but it's like, how is this moving the needle for it? So I think that's fantastic advice.
Yeah, definitely.
So, understanding that, so thinking about someone who's literally just starting out in their career, what is one piece of advice you give someone who's just starting out in their career?
Um, I will say definitely embracing just the mindset of learning and learning from other people for one, because people have so much to offer, and I think just being a sponge and soaking in as much information as you can is key. And I think it's also important to learn and master the tools that are within your industry. So whatever applications or programs that are required for your department or your role, really learning not just one, two, but multiple, because different jobs use different things. And I think if you are able to master multiple, then I think it's kind of the key to just being able to really mastering your role and figuring things out for what's best for your department.
Love that. Great advice. I love the concept of learning multiple tools and making it your own, but then also understanding what's happening with your department and being the best in your department. So that's great. Great advice. All right, Shauna, tell me about the most influential people in your life and how they made an impact on you.
Oh, um, I would say one of the most influential people in my life, definitely my dad. He was the reason why um, my sisters and I kind of were tech savvy because he was an engineer and he just always had gadgets around the house that we were always playing with. So definitely him. And I'll also say that I did have a mentor when I was um, active with applying for jobs and kind of trying to figure out where I wanted to go on my career path. And I think the mentor is something that's kind of overlooked these days because with the mentor, he was so helpful in helping me decide exactly what type of analyst I wanted to be. So we were able to narrow down like the different type of analysts that there were and then figure out where I best saw myself. And being able to do that allowed me to filter my resume specifically to that type of analyst, which ultimately made me more marketable. So I think having a mentor definitely played a huge role in my life.
Love it, love it. Two very influential people, pops, mentor, very valuable people. So that's fantastic. All right, Shawna, where can listeners find you at online?
Online, my LinkedIn account. So just Shawna.Taylor.
Awesome. Y'all heard it here. Add her, follow her. She's doing great things. Shawna, appreciate you being on 10 Minute Tuesday. This was a great episode. And if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll talk to y'all next week. Y'all have a great day.